Today we're digging into some, well, really profound source material. It's a philosophical look at, the self, existence,
Hmm.
the divine.
Hmm.
And what's really, Swizzle, grab me, is how it all hangs on this one core analogy. It really makes you rethink,
Hmm.
well, everything, your body, your life, what happens after.
That's right. And it's not really theology in the traditional sense, is it? It's more like a conceptual model.
Exactly.
The author sets up this framework comparing the body, our physical body, to a temporary vehicle, and the soul, that's the eternal energy inside. So our mission today is basically to unpack that, see how it shifts the whole idea of the God within us.
Okay, let's unpack this. So starting with the tangible part, right?
Yeah.
The vehicle, the
Yeah.
body. The author says it's just the container, the flesh.
Yeah, the machine we use to kind of get around in this world.
Right.
And, that machine, that vehicle, that's where so much of our identity stuff happens. The author points out these vehicles, they come in all shapes and sizes.
Like cars, yeah.
Exactly. Could be a flashy sports car, admired by everyone. Or maybe it's more like a reliable old sedan, barely noticed, maybe a bit beat up.
Okay. But whether it's, the top of the line model or one that's barely running, the author's point is the destination's the same.
The destination is the same. It goes back to the junkyard. That's the fate.
The junkyard, wow.
That's the synthesis, really, for all material things. Steel, rubber, flesh, and bone. It all belongs here, to this world. The author puts it very bluntly. My flesh belongs to the universe.
Huh.
The body just functions until it can't anymore, and then poof, back to the earth that made it. It's like this closed loop, purely physical.
Okay, so if the car's destined for the scrap heap,
Yeah.
then what about the driver? Or maybe not the driver yet, but the spark, the
Yeah.
thing that made the car go.
Yes. And that's the pivot, isn't it? That's the core shift in the whole philosophy. Once you accept the body as temporary,
Yeah.
you have to ask about the power source,
Right.
what animated it. And this is where the author does something brilliant, linking it to basic science,
Oh, like what?
like the first law of thermodynamics, essentially. Energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Right, okay. It only changes form. We learned that in school.
Exactly.
But, okay, hang on. Applying energy conservation to the soul, that feels like a pretty big lead. How does the source material justify that?
Well, it grounds the soul in something constant, infinite even. If the body's the vehicle, the
Mhm.
soul is the energy, the true driver maybe, the consciousness behind the wheel. And if energy itself can't be created or destroyed,
Right.
then the logic follows that our souls, this energy, they weren't really created in the way we think of beginnings. And they can't be destroyed like an ending. They just
Yeah.
are. They transform. They're infinite.
Okay, infinite energy, so
Yeah.
it doesn't just stop when the car breaks down.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
can't. Which immediately sets up this huge contrast with the flesh, right?
How so?
The flesh goes back to the earth, finite, contained. But the soul, the energy being eternal, infinite,
Oh.
where does it go? It has to return to its source.
Its source?
And that source, well, it has to be infinite too, doesn't it? The source material uses that older language. It returns to the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega. It's like this original, unending stream of consciousness. And our individual sparks, our souls, they come from that, and eventually they return to it.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Mm.
Because if our core essence, this soul energy, is eternal,
Yeah.
indestructible,
Mm.
and it returns to this infinite source, the alpha and omega,
Mm-hmm.
then the author basically says, well, this eternal energy is God. Is that right?
That's the conclusion, yes. And from there flows the idea of perfection.
Perfection. How?
Well, think about it. If you accept God as the infinite source, the ultimate energy,
Wow.
how could that source create something or be something that's fundamentally flawed, imperfect? It becomes like a logical impossibility in this framework.
Right. So the truest you, the energy, the driver, it's already perfect. That's the God within us the author's getting at.
Exactly. It's not some separate divine being camping out inside a flawed body. No. The energy itself is the divine. It's inherently perfect.
Okay, but wait. Then, why all the mess? Why do we feel imperfect? Why do we suffer, make bad choices, feel, sinful sometimes? That feels like a huge contradiction.
It does, doesn't it? And that's where the vehicle analogy is so important. Again, it helps resolve that tension.
Wow.
The author reframes all that stuff, imperfection, original sin, whatever you want to call it, as an illusion of the flesh.
Illusion.
Yeah, it belongs to the vehicle, not the driver. Think about it like your car, right?
Yeah.
It gets dense, the paint scratches, it runs out of gas eventually. Those are imperfections of the machine.
Okay.
But do those dents change the fundamental nature of the electricity powering it or the driver driving it? No.
Oh.
The energy of the soul, it stays constant, perfect, regardless of the car's condition.
Oh, okay. That distinction,
Yeah.
that's powerful. It shifts the focus from, like, inherent badness to temporary circumstances.
Exactly.
So then what about morality? Good and bad. If the soul's perfect energy, how does that work?
What's fascinating here is the philosophy suggests that good and bad are maybe human judgments, labels we put on the flow of existence.
It's on the flow.
Yeah, like when the energy flows in a way society likes, we call it good. When it flows in a way that causes friction or suffering from the perspective of the flesh, we call it bad.
So it's not saying there are no consequences, but that the labels are limited human constructs.
Mm-hmm.
Is it suggesting a kind of non-judgmental reality underneath?
Something like that, maybe a deeper acceptance of what is without constant labeling. But now you might ask, what about accountability? If I, drive recklessly and crash my car, isn't that bad?
Yeah, if I dent my neighbor's car, that's just flow. Doesn't seem right.
Right, and the author would likely say accountability is absolutely crucial, but it applies to the driver, the conscious energy choosing how to operate the vehicle. The moment you truly realize you are that perfect, powerful energy, you automatically take full responsibility for the vehicle's actions because you know you are the source of its movement, its choices within the physical realm. The judgment of bad exists within that physical experience, the limitations of the flesh, but maybe not in the eternal reality of the energy itself.
The responsibility piece is key. Okay. Now, I really appreciate that the author includes this moment of, like, total honesty.
Yeah.
Section 4, where they face the skepticism head on.
Absolutely. They actually stop and ask themselves, is this whole philosophy just clever thinking, awareness? Is it maybe just the ego desperately trying to survive death?
Yeah, like a fancy way to rationalize wanting to live forever.
Right. A primal instinct dressed up in philosophy. It's a really necessary gut check for the whole idea.
But they push past that doubt.
They do. And confronting it leads them to maybe the biggest question of all in this model. If we are all fundamentally this one eternal, perfect consciousness God, basically then why bother with life at all? Why this messy, imperfect journey in the vehicle?
Yeah, why the struggle?
And the answer that seems to bubble up, it's actually quite beautiful. Maybe. Maybe God is like a child.
A child.
Yeah. Maybe play is all there is. The sources suggest the whole universe, all its complexity, its struggles, its beauty. Maybe it's just God's way of exploring, expressing, delighting in himself, through all these infinite forms of creation, like in infinite playtime.
Wow. Like cosmic hide and seek. So life isn't some grim test. It's more like divine expression. Infinite energy temporarily limiting itself just to experience being limited.
That seems to be the idea, experiencing time, space, individuality. And, this isn't a totally new idea, is it?
No.
The author touches on the historical echoes, how similar truths seem to pop up again and again, across cultures, across time.
Like what?
They mention these recurring stories, right? Brilliant teachers, often with similar origin stories, virgin births, bright stars, 12 followers, that kind of thing. And the message they bring always seems to echo the same core truth. God is within us all, within you, within me.
So this philosophy we're discussing, it's like another version of that ancient message.
Kind of. The author sort of frames it as maybe a quieter, more modern echo of that same deep, universal longing, a longing to remember who we really are.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now, just living your day-to-day life in your current vehicle? Well, the whole deep dive really ends on this theme of realization, awakening, right? The soul's journey, in this view, it's ultimately about remembrance.
Remembering what?
Remembering your true nature. We're born into the flesh, the author says, without knowing we're this infinite energy. The point of life, then, is to wake up to that, to realize the driver is...
Oh, God.
And that realization, that's not just intellectual. It's meant to be transformative.
Yeah.
Imagine really knowing that deep down, not just believing it, but knowing it in your core.
How would that change things?
Well, the author points to 3 big shifts. First, you take full, 100% responsibility for your life. Knowing you're the energy, you're in control of the flow, in a sense.
Okay. Responsibility. What else? Second, it completely transforms your perception of reality itself. And third, flowing from that, it changes your beliefs about yourself, about others. You see, everyone else is just different forms of the same energy. No real separation.
So it stops being about getting the perfect car.
Yeah.
And starts being about remembering you're already the perfect driver.
Exactly. And maybe Maybe the real awakening isn't this big struggle to find God or become perfect. Maybe it's just remembering that as this eternal energy, you never actually lost God or perfection in the first place.
Just needed to remember who was behind the wheel all along.
Something like that. A lot to think about there.